Thank you for tuning in to the best parenting show on the internet, Post Daily Dose.
It's the Post. It's the Post. It's the Post. The Post Daily Dose. It's the Post. It's the Post. It's the Post. The Post Daily Dose. It's the Post. It's the Post.
Hey, you guys. Happy Sunday. What is today? Sunday. Yes, it's Sunday. And I am coming at you live after church. This is Kristi, Saul, the co-founder of the Post+Institute. And I love coming at you guys after church. I'm kind of waiting to see who might plug in here. But I'm just going to get going. Man, it's so good to be home, first of all. Marley and I got home yesterday evening and got to spend the night. Hey, Kirsten. Got to spend the night in the comfort of our own home, in our own beds. And we feel so much more rested. And man, that's a great place to live, isn't it? Rested. And it's so hard when we're not, which that kind of feeds into my message today, because I walked into church today, and man, my church is I just love my church. You guys know I do. I just always talk about it. But and we always start with music worship. And so lots of praise, lots of worship, great music. I come in, it's such, you can just feel, the atmosphere of love and connection and praise and gratefulness. So it's such a beautiful place to be. But I was so happy to be there, but I didn't really feel plugged in, because I was still sort of functioning in that space of survival. And I'm just sitting there singing and, worshiping. And I noticed my friend Amy, and I just felt led to just go over and I was getting a hug. It was a shared hug, but honestly, I went to get one because she happens to be very blessed with a very nurturing mother spirit, and ironically, she's an adoptee, and we talked about that quite a lot, her and I. But I just needed a mom's hug, that mother energy, because I was feeling very selfish. I was in that selfish space that we get into when we are in survival. So when we're in survival, it is next to impossible to consider anybody else's needs to the fullest extent and to the depth of our hearts that we really need to. And so just to remind you guys of that, and we're all susceptible to it. We're all human, and it's part of being human that we get triggered, we get stressed out, we get overwhelmed, and in that space, we also function in survival mode. And in survival mode, you can't give consideration to other people's needs. And I wanted to kind of be in church and be a part of my church body, not just this kind of floundering appendage out there. So I'm so grateful to be able to go and get those loving hugs to help me get regulated, and to be able to be a part of something, and to be able to pour into something and not just kind of taking from it. So there's that little thing. Then, the message today at church was incredible. My pastor, and I think he may have, yes, Valerie, self-care. And self-care can include getting a loving, safe hug from somebody. And being a single mom, Marley and I share wonderful hugs, but it's awesome to be able to share that strong energy, that strong, mature energy of a loving adult. So there's that. Thank you, Valerie. You're absolutely right. Self-care is so important. So my pastor was using this analogy. He said, what if you told your child, the father tells the child to go clean their room. And so the child goes into their room, and they meditate on the words, clean your room. And they even pray about clean your room. And they even memorize clean your room. And he comes back to the father. The child comes back to the father and says, Father, I have meditated on your words, and I have prayed on your words. I've even memorized your words. Clean your room. And so then the next day, the child even invites friends over to meditate and pray on clean your room. And they even learn how to say clean your room in 5 different languages, but the room's still not clean. The point being, how often do we do that as adults, where we're learning something and we spend a lot of time meditating on it and praying on it, but how do we activate it? How do we activate the things that we're learning? How do we listen deeper? How do we trust what is love? What's the message of love? How do we trust which direction to go? So I just want to offer that we as adults, as being human, are susceptible to all the things that our kids are susceptible to, and that habits can be very difficult to break. So grace for us all, God's grace, the grace we can extend to our children, the grace our children extend to us, man. So thankful for that. So that came from church today, and I loved it because, we have to activate what we're learning. We have to activate, and when we mess up, we have to step back and look at our, last night or the night before I was talking about Z being the behavior. Well, we have behaviors too. So when our challenges, we have to do the same investigation where we go back and see what it was that led to our challenges as adults in terms of being able to step in the path of love and create relationships with our children and teaching them from a place of love versus being punitive and rejecting. So that was that part. And then the other thing that came from church today, and I just absolutely loved it. And I'm terrible at remembering exact verses in terms of the Matthew. I think I want to say it's like 22, maybe 40 through 39. We're kind of in this space where everybody's always like, love thy neighbor, love thy neighbor, love thy neighbor. But in our current culture, we're very focused on self-love. Love yourself, love yourself, love yourself. You got to love yourself. Well, the scripture actually says, love thy neighbor as thyself. So if you're having a hard time loving somebody, you might need to look at how you're loving yourself. But before that, in that chapter, it actually says, love God. Love God with all your heart, mind, and soul. Love thy neighbor as thyself. So if you're struggling with love and loving others, then it's a full equation. It's not one. Any one of those cannot stand separately. It's very difficult for us to love ourselves or our neighbors if we're out of relationship with the greatest healing force that we know of, and that's love. God is love. So when we are out of alignment with that loving energy, it's very difficult for us to love our neighbors or ourselves. And so take that little word, meditate on it, pray on it, and activate it, right? So we don't want to just get caught in that space of just learning, without pausing and digesting, and let messages speak to us and ask for activation. So much love to you guys. I hope you're having a beautiful weekend. Again, thank you for supporting the Post+Institute. Thank you for all your personal support. I know lots of you guys have been covering Marley and I and Brian in your prayers, and we just absolutely appreciate you all. Much love to you guys.